What's going on, guys? So basically today we are going to talk about how to invest in this new economy, this new world order. And it might not make a lot of sense, but that's where I'm going to start with. The US, that's, where, most big companies are based. That's where, a lot of things come from, right? And this honestly goes for any country, wherever you're at. We're all going kind of through the same thing. Ultimately, the value of the dollar is going to go down. This is because our $37 trillion in debt, and that is steady growing. So kind of the plan for the US, we can, they could, print cash, and that's what they usually do, but that ultimately rises, right? That ultimately raises that, right? So basically what they're going to do is they're going to grow inflation. What that will ultimately do is lower the dollar, making this less money. Think about it as you owe your friend $100, right? And the $100 goes down in 50% value, making it $50. You really only owe your friend $50 now, right? So that's basically, the plan for this. Now we are going to talk about how to invest in this. So ultimately, cash is going to depreciate. So for the working class people, for the salary man, the actual money that they're making, the cash they're holding on to, is going to go down in value. Their salary might go up by 3%, we'll say, but ultimately the real inflation will go up about 8%. So ultimately your cash is going to lose value. If you're holding on to cash, you are going to lose 5%. So now that we kind of understand that, let's talk about investing. So holding on to cash, as we know, will go down in value. Assets will not. Assets will go up in inflation. And things like stocks, real estate, rare metals, and cryptocurrencies. I'm not a financial advisor, but from what I believe, I would put about 50 to 60% in stocks, about 30% in real estate, and with the remaining, I would split these up evenly. So depending on how much, we'll say you got 80% in stocks and real estate, 10. We're going to start with stocks, right? Things like something safe like VU. Again, that's the S&P 500. That tracks the top 500 companies in the US. So that will obviously do good, right? Stocks, things that people need, right? And the S&P 500 is usually the safest option. You don't always want to have all your stocks in AI, things like Palantir or Tesla, because ultimately we don't know where that's going to go. So a big thing for that is a vast majority of things that people need, because it will ultimately always go up. For me, VU is a very safe option. Getting into real estate, forgot the E there. Real estate, you are going to need a decent amount of capital, right? And for the normal person, that is not very doable, right? But when we think about things like REITs, those are kind of ETFs. These are companies that invest in real estate, things like that, and that will obviously make your money go up, right? Kind of like an asset, but that's the kind of thing they don't teach you in school, right? They might teach you buying houses and stuff is good, depending on what kind of classes you take, but that's the kind of thing for what you do when you don't have the capital to do that. Rare metals, gold. We have used that for the last 5,000 years for currency, and it's not going anywhere. It's one of those things that you're always going to know you need it because it's a rare metal. That's not something that you're able to make, right? So it's always going to have value, and it's always going to eventually appreciate. There might be slow years, but gold always goes up. And you can do your own research, but it always goes up. And that's obviously because of inflation. Everything rises. And a lot of people, they use gold as a hedge because it counters inflation, like the dollar. That's why a lot of banks and countries are buying gold. Cryptocurrency. This is a pretty big thing in the new world, because cryptocurrency is the new currency, crypto, right? And basically what that does is, instead of having a dollar, it is ultimately its own thing, right? But because what I don't like about this, and why I'd only recommend about 10 to 15% in this, is because it's not backed. It's not backed, ultimately making it a little volatile. Things can also go up, but that also depends what you invest in. Bitcoin. It is beat just about every single currency in the last decade, and it is proven, right? It's a proven cryptocurrency. Maybe Ethereum. If you're kind of trying to be a little bit more broad, Ethereum could also be a pretty good option. But that is about it for investing. Really quick. Let's get into the what not to do. 1. You are not going to want to listen to noise. Put those ear mittens on, ear muffins, whatever you want to call them. But stocks, they're going to go up and down. Gold is going to be slow sometimes. Real estate is going to do what real estate does. And cryptocurrencies, they're volatile, right? But ultimately, everything goes back up, right? So don't listen to the noise. Know that what you have is real, and eventually it will go up, long term too. Don't wait. A lot of people, they wait for this big crash, this perfect time. There is no such thing as a perfect time. Ultimately, everything will go up. You just got to be patient. 3. I had something in my ear. 3. Versatility. That means being versatile, right? That means having multiple things, multiple attributes in one thing. That also means in the market. I'm sure you guys have all heard eggs in a basket, right? You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. Let's say this basket gets fucked, right? You still have these 2 other baskets, and they're still growing. They're still growing in interest. They're still making you money. But let's say you just had one basket, all your money in one place. Just like that. That is everything gone. So that's why having all your eggs in different baskets. Anyway, that is the talk for today. Shout out my boy Lyric. It's his birthday, so let's get some birthday comments in here. Happy birthday, my boy. But I hope you guys all learned something from this, and have a great night.